When food becomes unsafe, Empire Lister and Voodoo Rome learned it the hard way. And today's recall proves why. Food has always been more than nourishment. It is trust, survival, and power. Right now, canned tuna is being recalled due to a potential botulism risk. The warning feels modern scientific language, official alerts, barcode numbers, but the fear behind it is ancient. Long before food labels and recall systems existed, the Roman kingdom faced the same invisible enemy, unsafe food. Botulism is rare, but deadly. It attacks the nervous system silently. A dented can, a broken seal, a microscopic failure that turns preserved food into poison. Modern food systems depend on trust in factories, seals, inspections, and regulations. When that trust cracks, fear spreads faster than facts. Ancient Rome lived by the same trust without knowing it. During the Roman Kingdom and early Republic, Rome could not feed itself. Grain arrived from surrounding regions by river and sea. Every shipment mattered. Grain ships were lifelines. When they arrived safely, the city lived. When they failed, the city panicked. There was no refrigeration, no understanding of bacteria. Grain spoiled. Meat rotted. Fish sauces fermented unpredictably. People became sick suddenly. Sometimes they recovered. Sometimes they died. Rome did not know the word botulism, but it knew paralysis, sudden illness, and unexplained death. Food poisoning was blamed on gods, curses, or enemies, but the source was often simple decay. Like today, the danger was invisible. Modern canning creates low oxygen. Environment's perfect for botulism. If something goes wrong, Rome unknowingly created similar conditions using sealed amphorae filled with oil, fish paste, or preserved meats. Different technology, same biological risk. When food failed in Rome, it was never just a health issue. It became political. Angry citizens filled the streets. Officials were blamed. Trust eroded. Today, a recall does the same thing quietly. People ask questions. Confidence shakes. Safety becomes a conversation. History whispers a warning. When food safety fails, societies feel it first in fear. Rome did not collapse because of one poisoned meal. It collapsed because trust eroded over time. Food crises repeated themselves. Grain spoiled. Supplies failed. Explanations came late or not at all. Slowly, citizens stopped believing that the system existed to protect them. Hunger was dangerous, but uncertainty was worse. That same pattern still exists today. A modern food, recall like the canned tuna, warning over botulism. Risk may seem routine. Official notices are issued. Products are removed from shelves. Scientists explain the danger, but beneath those actions lies something fragile: public confidence. Food safety works best when it is invisible. When nothing goes wrong, no one notices the systems in place. But the moment a recall appears, trust is tested. People question how the failure happened, who is responsible, and whether it could happen again. Ancient Rome faced the same challenge without science, without regulation, and without speed. Citizens relied on faith, that grain was safe, that leaders were competent, that tomorrow would look like today. When that faith broke, unrest followed. Modern societies are better prepared, but not immune. Each recall is a reminder that food preservation, no matter how advanced, carries risk. Technology reduces danger, but it never removes it completely. Botulism is rare, yet deadly. That combination alone is enough to trigger fear. Rome never had the ability to detect contamination early. Illness appeared suddenly. Explanations came slowly, and blame spread faster than truth. Today, detection exists. Warnings arrive quickly. That difference matters. A recall is not proof of failure alone. It is proof that the system noticed. Rome lacked that advantage. History shows that civilizations don't fall from poison itself. They fall when people stop trusting the structures meant to protect them. Food is central to that trust because it enters the body. It is intimate. It is unavoidable. A Roman grain ship and a modern can of tuna share one responsibility: safety. When that responsibility fails, fear fills the gap. The lesson is clear and ancient. Food security is not optional. Transparency is not a luxury. And vigilance never expires. Rome ignored its warnings for too long. Today, we are warned in time. The outcome depends on whether we remember what history already taught us. In ancient Rome, food was never just food. It was power. The Roman kingdom in early republic depended on a fragile system of trust built around grain. Rome itself could not produce enough food to sustain its growing population. Every day, the city survived because ships arrived on time. Grain from surrounding regions flowed into public granaries, filling massive storage buildings that symbolized stability. As long as those granaries were full, Rome felt safe. But when food failed, fear spread faster than hunger. There was no scientific understanding of contamination. No way to test whether grain was safe. Spoilage was judged by smell, texture, or color often. Too late. A single compromised shipment could poison thousands, and no one knew why. Today, a canned tuna recall due to botulism. Risk follows a similar pattern. And louder, consumers may not understand the science behind botulism, but they understand the fear. A sealed product that promised safety suddenly becomes a threat. That moment of realization is not modern. It is ancient. Rome lived with that uncertainty every day. Food preservation in Rome was driven by necessity and economics. Grain was dried and stored. Meat was salted. Fish was fermented into salsas like garum, sealed inside amph. These methods extended shelf life, fed armies, and stabilized markets, but they also created risk. Preservation always carries a trade-off. Modern canning works on the same principle. Remove oxygen. Seal the container. Extend shelf life. The technology is advanced, but the biological risk remains. Botulism thrives in low-oxygen environments. So did the ancient bacteria Rome never knew existed. Different centuries. Same enemy. When food-related illness spread in Rome, the response was rarely medical. It was political. Citizens blamed officials. Accusations of corruption followed. Riots broke out in the Forum. Leaders were removed or forced into reform. Food safety equaled legitimacy. A ruler who could not protect the food supply could not protect the city. That lesson still applies today. When a recall happens, governments and corporations rush to reassure the public. Press releases are issued. Products are pulled. Investigations begin not only to protect health but to protect trust. Because once trust is broken, recovery is slow. Rome understood this instinctively, even without science. That is why grain distribution became a political tool. Leaders used food to gain loyalty. Cheap grain calmed unrest. Full granaries symbolized order, but the system had a fatal flaw. It was reactive. Rome responded after crises, not before. Inspections were inconsistent. Storage conditions varied. Corruption sometimes allowed spoiled goods to circulate. There was no standardized safety system. Modern food regulation exists precisely because Rome and other civilizations paid the price for ignorance. A recall is not simply evidence of failure. It is evidence of detection. Rome had almost no detection. Modern society design often underestimates its value. Food also carried another shadow in Rome: suspicion. When illness spread, people suspected enemies. Sabotage was real. During conflicts, poisoning food supplies was a known tactic. Even when contamination was accidental, fear turned political. That psychological response has never disappeared. Today, most recalls are caused by manufacturing errors or seal failures. Yet fear spreads instantly. People ask whether the system is broken, whether safety can still be trusted. Food enters the body. It bypasses defenses. It feels personal. That emotional response is timeless. Rome's repeated food crises slowly eroded public confidence. Not through starvation alone, but through uncertainty. People stopped believing the system would protect them. Once that belief weakened, everything else followed. Political instability, unrest, collapse. Modern societies are stronger, more informed, more regulated. But they are not immune to the same pattern. Each recall tests the system. Each response either rebuilds trust or weakens it. Rome failed because it learned to slowly. The question today is not whether recalls happen. The question is whether we understand what they mean. Food has always been more than survival. It is stability. And when stability cracks, history reminds us what comes next.